Going live. All right. Apparently there are two other people out there in the internet verse. And who are they? Oh, look at that. Danny, Mark, Josema. I think we've met before. Mark, I'm not sure if we've met yet. Danny, I think you can join me on stage. Do you want to do it? I'm also activating emoji reactions. Oh, wow. Wow, that's going to be great. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Trying to get Danny up on stage. Nice. Can you hear me? Nope.
Hear you.
You can? I can hear you.
Cool. It's all working.
We're going to have a great time. I have absolutely... There was no practice for this. Well, there kind of was, because we got a release out, Danny. So that was the practice, but this will be good. This will be definitely the full view into the life of a developer and how all the glamour that's happening. So
yeah, I was just going to upgrade tape. Like, I've been using Canary, but then I realized I need to follow my own release notes. But I might as well do it with you.
yeah, okay, perfect. That's what I followed the release notes a couple times yesterday myself. So thank you, man. Well done on this. We're recording this, and the idea is to show all of the wonderful grace and elegance of upgrading a Redwood app, but hopefully also demonstrate that it's not so bad. We do have a few things going on in this release because it's a monster that we want to make sure we highlight where people can go and get help instructions if they have really specific edge cases, so if they've upgraded things. And that was kind of the impetus for doing a live stream recording. And we also wanted to I'm going to try upgrading a project I really don't know very well at all. And we're going to see how well the release notes go. So we'll see what it's like. All right. I think we have a few people. I was waiting for Dom. I thought he was going to join. We could bring him up on stage. Maybe not. We'll grab him when we can. Good to see some people. Well, thank you. Thank you all for joining. So here is what I'm thinking we'll do. And people of the chat, let me know what you would like to do. We can walk through the release notes from v0.36. Want to talk through specifically each of the highlights, and maybe not do a demo on those, but really what they mean, what the implications are, why we're excited, how much pain Danny had to go through to make it work, and other people on the team. Danny especially. Danny, you kind of carried this one across the finish line for us, so were we allowed to visit each other in our respective nations, I would be buying you a lot of drinks, buddy. So, but hey, I mean, why not live stream on a Friday night?
One day, let's just add it up, and then one day
add it up. We're gonna have to spread that over a few. I owe you a few, so it's gonna take at least a week now. So people of the chat, we'll go through the highlights. We will then live stream upgrading our respective projects. We'll go back and forth, and we want to make it this discussion friendly, open to FAQ. If you are trying to upgrade your project, your Redwood project at the same time, let's do it. Let's live debug and answer your questions. That can mean questions in the chat. We'll take those as we go. That could mean joining us on stage and sharing your screen. We could do that as well. And yeah, is there if you are listening out there, internet people, is there anything especially you would have us want to focus on today? Tim is typing. Nope, nothing comes to his mind. Okay. Survey says no. That's not survey. It's a form of question. What is no questions? Okay, let's do it. So, Danny, I'm gonna share. I'll share my screen, and you let me know how the font size is if I need to increase anything. Oh wow, I can share all kinds of things now. All right, sharing screen. We're going for the full screen. Wow, that is not great. We're gonna close that stuff and make that go away. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, there we go. How's the font size here?
I think a bit more zoom, probably.
So do that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Sounds very good. All right. So version 36. We normally post this on the Twitter account and the Redwood community forum. So community.redwoodjs.com. And then under announcements is where we drop in the release notes. So, okay, here we go. Here we go. We are going to start walking through. And this, this really is a big release. It was hard to do the highlights on this because there were so many different things. So it's a little bit dense, but absolutely worth it. There's a lot of things going on here. So right out of the gate, performance, stability, and SEO. There are some major changes under the hood because we upgraded things like Webpack to version 5. Webpack and Webpack Dev Server are not the same things. That's a separate package. Dev Server is now running on version 4. So there were breaking changes, and actually substantial breaking changes in both Webpack v5 and Webpack Dev Server. For the most part, we handle all of that internally to the Redwood packages. Yep, you're welcome. It turns out it's as bad upgrading those things as you think it would. I have more appreciation for Webpack does now, but also, man, config is rough. So there's a couple, I think once we fire up an app, Danny, we could show what that looks like because the console logs are a little bit different. Webpack v5 is snappier, feels more stable. And if anything, I think people might find some changes if they're using some custom config when they run the dev server. That's where they might have a breaking change, but we'll go to the docs on that. Jest version 27, again, everything is done under the hood, but if you have a custom implementation for your Jest tests, for example, if you were doing your own custom test environment, which I don't think you should have, that's a breaking change. If you were using anything that had to do with the Jasmine 2 test runner, which you probably weren't, that would be a breaking change. But again, you're just going to see the performance improvements from this and probably not have to make any changes on your app. Fingers crossed, but let us know. And Storybook version 6.3, I should have linked to that. That's a great release for Storybook. They're doing some really cool things, being able to support Cypress E2E test in the way that you write your stories. So you just get all in once. Danny, did you know about that? That Storybook did that in that upgrade? Have I told you about how excited I am about that?
I mean, I've seen it. I've seen their release notes, but I've not. I don't know what the implication is.
Yeah, and I haven't gone through it myself yet, but they have a new syntax for writing a story, which we'll have to see what compatibility we have with all of the mocking that we do. But effectively, you can write a story, and you can write tests for the different states of your component in the story. When you fire up Cypress, it goes through those Storybook stories and runs a test for you. So you basically get your design mocks for your whole component library and your Cypress E2E tests all in one file. So I'm weird, but I think that's amazing. So we'll see. We'll see. Then Storybook version 6.3 is using Webpack v5 now. There's another thing, I didn't list it here. We have I did talk about that. There's a lot of things going on under the hood with the way that Peter Pistorius overhauled the build process for the API in your project. And that also means that when you run yarn redwood dev, that whole process got overhauled. So that should feel snappier, more performant. The build process, there's a lot of good things to come. Actually we run a 2-step build process now, and ES build is included in that, so it should be quicker. Okay, I spent a lot of time on the performance things, but those are big deals. We spent a lot of time on those, Danny.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and
I can't see the chat at all.
no, I'll tell you if something comes along.
I can't see it. You know,
yeah,
if Dom,
I'll
shows
keep
up,
an eye on it.
If Dom shows up, get him up on stage. I think you have admin
Yeah.
control. Okay, you're on the chat. Go. Okay, go ahead.
So the big change with the Webpack stuff is actually not the Webpack. The Babel and ESBuild stuff is actually on the API side. So do let us know how you get on with the new API server. It should feel faster. Excuse me. And it also will emulate production a lot more closely than it used to. You know, good things all around. If there are any Windows users on this live chat, do let us know if you're facing any issues, because someone on the Discord has reported they're facing a bit of a problem on Windows. So we'll investigate this further, but do let us know how it goes for you.
Yeah, thank you. Those are two really good points, and especially about trying to bring the production experience closer to the dev experience, right? Uniting those. That's it's a pretty cool PR that went in with those changes. But yeah, great things, Danny. If you have questions, Discord, forums, replying to this forum post with the announcement, those are all the right places to report in. If it goes well, we want to know that. That's really helpful to know. If it doesn't go well, we want to know that if you had specific problems, especially on Windows. So thank you, Danny. That's really important. We'll talk more about the built-in page SEO title and description. That's a part of the things you can upgrade with the code mods, but just better SEO for pages out of the box, automating and including that by default. That's what's going on there. And hats off to Simone for all the great work he's been doing. And Danny, you added Helmet. That was in the last release, correct? 35?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, okay. Simone has just joined the chat as well.
Oh, fantastic.
So welcome, Simone. Thank you for the PRs and making this work.
Yes, we might put you don't have to, but we might put you on the spot later when we go through some of that. You could talk us through and make sure we're upgrading correctly. But thank you. And there's more to come there. There's some exciting things that sets us up for Danny. I know we don't know when or if we'll make it into V1, although we're trying, but getting even fancier with the head information and open graph meta tags. We have some things we want to do there, and this sets us up. And Simone also wants to do, I think, actually that'd be a good question to get to when we get there. All the I-18N, so internationalization work. This really puts a Redwood project in a good place to be, to really manage internationalization well, because of the head meta data that you can add. So that was a great PR. The Redwood history. Please go ahead.
DP, there's a question from Tharshan. So he's asking, he uses WSL on Windows.
Yes.
Shutter. Reload times on the API side are between 7 seconds and 14 seconds. Will this release improve with the upgrade? Yeah, our expectation is that it will improve it. The main difference, Tharshan, is that before, the API side would compile on the fly for you. So what happens is when you make the request, it would compile, Babel would do the compilation, and then the response would happen. So sometimes it took a while, depending on your setup. Whereas this one, it should be snappier.
And hopefully there will be some Webpack improvements there as well. Yeah, so I think snappier. That's my vote. I think it'll be snappier. But Tharshan, let us know. Let us know. Redwood history package. This was done by Toba, one of our favorite Swedes. Not that there aren't a few of those, but Toba does a lot of work on the router in history. History package was a new addition of his, initially done to support auth. And but the history package with the router is you're basically tracking state, and you have a whole history of routes, some new functions and options, improves auth, but also adds a lot more capability to what you can do with the router. Wanted to highlight that, and I'm not sure if the docs are updated yet about those, so I linked to the PR there, but I think that package is going to be a real improvement for people and the things they can build on top of it. So any other thoughts on the history package, Danny?
The router scares me still, so.
It's fair. That's fair. You and I use it. I don't. I trust that it works.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about this one. This one is. See, like, here's the problem. Each of these are major things, and they could have been their own like release. We could talk about this stuff for an hour, but this is a really big deal. And you and David Tierson did some great work here. But built-in testing for functions and webhooks. And so I'll intro this just to say it's hard to do everything well in a project, right? Like you're getting everything working, and then you're like, oh my gosh, security and authentication, and how do I make sure, and testing, and how do I test for security? And people don't realize how much with an API, especially with GraphQL, is open by default, right? These are public endpoints, and then you're running integrations with other services, and then you're in the context of a serverless infrastructure. So having default security testing, making all of that as robust as we can is really important, and it's really hard. And thus, Danny and DT added a really phenomenal new feature here, the built-in testing for functions and webhooks. Danny, did I steal your thunder? I'm just excited about it.
No, you haven't. So this feature, I actually don't know if I've seen this feature anywhere else. So it might be one of those Redwood unique features that we're introducing. So whenever you have a product that you build, so if you're just starting out with Redwood or you're just playing around, you likely won't come across this problem. But as soon as you're getting ready to go into production, or you're integrating Stripe or Paddle or any sort of payments platform, really, you're going to need webhook support, right? So as soon as you do that, it comes with a whole host of challenges. Wait, how do I test that the subscription got canceled when they didn't pay? How do I test that their account got activated when they bought my product? And there's all sorts of scenarios that can happen. Payments is a really good example, but
absolutely,
it's possible with all sorts of integrations. And I'm sure Tharshan has so many integrations on user vitals. This is likely going to help him as well. But the idea is when you generate your custom function handler, so this is on the API side, not on the website. When you generate it, it gives you the normal scaffold, but also what it does, it gives you an example test. If you scroll down for me a little bit, DP.
Yes, you bet. Right, yeah. There we go. Thank you.
There we go. So it gives you a little bit of a boilerplate for your test, but also gives you some helper functions to do to help write these tests with. So in essence, like without going into too much depth, all you need to do now is use that mock HTTP event helper, pass it the parameters that you think you want to test, as in, let's create a scenario with these parameters that I'm going to pass through, and then you just test the result. And it's all kind of nice and packaged into the generator. So as soon as you run the function generator, it gives you these tests. Tharshan says, this is a big brain feature. My intern is going to be busy writing tests. Yeah.
Good.
Honestly, this has been one of the biggest pain points when I built tape with Redwood, because and it's not specific to Redwood. As soon as you do any sort of payment integration, you need to test all the scenarios, and it's a hard one to do. So I'm very glad it's in. These docs are very, very nicely written. David Tierson's done a tremendous job with these docs. They should cover almost every question you might have on this topic. If they don't, do let us know. But I've read through it so many times, and it's very detailed. But I know testing isn't everyone's favorite topic, but he does try to make it engaging. He does give you examples of how to create fixtures, how do you organize your code, all sorts of great examples there. And, this should be really sort of your API functions testing Bible, which goes hand in hand with the other testing document that we also have on the RedwoodJS website.
Yes, man, good things. Starshin, another thing. So Danny, talk about something that was hard. There were challenges before in organizing your functions directory. Directory in your, so API source functions that had to have a flat directory structure, a flat file structure. But now, is there an example here, Danny? That's been changed. So you can nest things. We had to do that so that you could get these files here. Pause. I meant to say, you said this, Danny, but really clearly, Redwood generators give you all this. Right? They get you started. So again,
it doesn't give you the fixtures, just so you know, like the fixtures, because you really only need the fixtures when you have lots of scenarios. So you can create it yourself, but everything else.
You get the boilerplate, you get the directory structure, you get the boilerplate, and then you have the docs. So use the Redwood generator to create the function. It gets you started, and it's just the DX is really nice here, is what I'm trying to imply.
So if you scroll up, there is one little thing that we should touch on. Right at the top, it should be in the handler and reusing sharing code. So this is about the data structure. Here we go. So when it generates, Redwood is set up to listen to your API functions in a few different ways. So this mirrors, these are the rules, and this is the only thing you need to keep in mind. So you can organize your code in any way you want. So as you can see, when we generated, the Hello World folder is generated, and inside it, it generates the Hello World test and Hello World scenarios. And this mirrors exactly what we do for components, services, basically every other concept in Redwood has exactly this structure. But because these are serverless functions, or serverful if you're deploying to render or Heroku, because these are API functions, you do have to be aware which file is your actual handler. And the rules there clearly show you which ones it could be. So if you don't nest it in a directory, the file itself will become your handler. So it's
this example here. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're going into your website.com/API/hello, it's going to trigger that function. Now, if you use our generators, it'll give you the second option, which is it's going to nest hello.ts or hello.js inside the hello folder. And that's your main handler. But if you're writing it by hand, you can also use hello/index.js or TS, and it'll also respect it. But I can almost hear everyone asking questions. Wait, what about all of the other files? What if I want to move some logic into another file and call it my library? Handily, there's an example. Where your mouse is basically. So if you create a file in the Hello World folder, so when you want to split into multiple files, you need the folder structure.
Looking UIC here. Yep.
Yeah, that's the bit. So you can create within this folder as many files as you want, and you can import it into your serverless function. This is one of the things that we've been missing as in a way of organizing code that you don't want in your handler because your handler's gotten to, 500 lines or something. So you want to move that code into different files. You could do that before putting it in API source lib, but now you can do either. However you want, you can put it in the functions folder, or you can put it in API source lib, and both are valid, both will work. The only thing to remember is that don't name them .test or .fixture or .scenarios, because those things we're not going to ship with your production code base.
Yeah, thank you. That was really, I was wondering about, man, again, we could probably spend an hour on some of these things, but yeah, so here's the functions. You'll recognize the GraphQL function, right? So that becomes our primary GraphQL endpoint for the app, but then hello world. So this hello world.ts for those people that TS, that is my function. Am I understanding that correctly? And then these are my scenarios tests, and then I'm using this as a helper. I'm importing it over here. This seems like it's going to be, do I understand that correctly, Danny? Did I repeat it back? Yeah. And this seems like it's going to be super helpful. I think, again, I think Darshan is going to like this.
Yeah.
So I know he shares some code. I actually, I don't know about his structure here, but I know a lot of people are going to find this really helpful.
I did speak to him about it when I was implementing this. There is another thing he has been talking about for a while. Well, one for us to investigate, routing within the API side. There's a bit more to investigate there. Sarshan had a question: how can we test complex DB operations within functions? And he linked to Prisma's unit testing guide. Yes. You can certainly use Prisma's way of testing, but Redwood has an easier built-in way of doing it. So if you just press the scenarios one, DP, not that one, further down, test webhook scenarios.
Test webhook scenarios. Why am I not? Boom, boom.
Yeah, there we go.
Got it.
Yeah. So this is an example of how you can create complex, scenarios, as in change your database, what's in your database, and then just check if your services or your function handlers are handling it correctly. So this one is a terse example because we go into a lot of detail on how to use scenarios in the other testing doc. So on the left-hand side, there's
right, and so you're talking about this doc. I'll open up in a new tab. Right?
Yeah.
So in
the
testing, the RedwoodJS testing Bible, shall we say?
Yeah. So in this testing Bible, we go into a lot more detail about what scenarios are. I have personally used it on my project for complex DB situations, like I don't know, don't allow things if they haven't paid, or it can get really hairy when you have logic like that. And scenarios is an absolute lifesaver. So on the webhook or API function side, they work in exactly the same way. The only difference is that when you generate a service, we know what data model the service is associated with. So we kind of define the scenario for you. In the case of an API function, it's a lot more open-ended because you could be using the post scenario, or you could be using your user data model. We don't know at that point in time. So we generate the scenario file for you, but it's up to you to write the scenarios. And again, if we go back to the other tab,
I was gonna look at this.
Yeah, it just links back to
good. You guys did everything. You covered everything. Okay, yeah, where do you want me to go here?
Here, so I just want to briefly talk about this. This example is a beautiful example because I think everyone can relate to the three states that your database can be in, which is when you've placed an order, it's either ordered, shipped, or delivered, as in order placed, shipped, or delivered. And DT's example goes through testing each of these. He creates each of these scenarios and then writes a test to verify that the handler is behaving how you expect it to. So Tharshan, if you need to do complex stuff like this is going to help you out a lot. And yeah, do try and follow it and tell us what you think. But I think it should be comprehensive enough to cover almost all cases. Yeah.
Man, I feel like we should have given that an hour. Man, we need to figure out our marketing, Danny. I tell you what, we keep cranking out so many amazing things, and then we're doing our best to get the word out, but we'll get there. I just feel like I don't want any of these things to get buried, right? Because they're all so good.
Agreed. And, oh, I do want to tell you a little bit of a story first.
Ooh,
on this.
I love
webhook testing. Why it's important.
Yes.
I've done this multiple times in production applications. Um, and I know recently my brother did this as well. He's a product manager, not a developer, but his team had the same issue. So a common thing to happen is when you have a webhook, you have a secret that you verify the webhook when it comes through.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, exactly. And a very common thing to happen when you do that is you forget to configure the secret in your production environment, or maybe you change the secret and you forgot to change it. And when that happens, you go crazy and your whole team goes crazy trying to figure out what broke. But when you have these webhook tests and when you have these unit tests that tell you immediately, actually, there's nothing wrong with the code here, it gives you a very straight indicator to say, oh, in that case, I probably want to go look at whether I've configured my environment correctly. And I'm sure anybody who's dealt with webhooks has done this at least once, where they've had to disable all security because their customers were complaining or transactions were failing. And this will hopefully prevent that sort of situation happening.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That you don't want to get that call. Oh man. Isn't software fun? I mean, it's just a great time. It is a lot of ups and downs. Fun to ship these things. And we will, yeah, may you learn from our pain. Hopefully, right? That's what we're trying to do. Hopefully. Okay, that was a big one. Thank you for taking some time on that. Let me go back to the old screen share. Okay. See, my clicks are different there. There we go, minimized. Okay. Built-in testing for functions and webhooks. So go get your testing on Redwood Auth updates and a new Clerk provider. Just a lot of things get tons of highlight. Rob updated dbAuth, which was new in version 36, which means it's self-hosted authentication. So you are not using a third-party provider. It's all built into your Redwood project. That's what dbAuth is. And that came out in 35. That was a really big lift and effort. Thank you to Rob. Go ahead.
Timed it perfectly. You said Rob and he appeared.
He's here. All right. So we should have Rob. Okay, well, we can come back to, actually, we might put Rob on the spot for the dbAuth updates. That's what we could do because he added a new function. I think there's some updates to dbAuth you'll need to make because it got better. Supabase has a lot of things going on with Auth. They added more providers that they support. Firebase got updated, and I didn't see this PR. I didn't review this one myself, but we have a new authentication provider, and that's Clerk. And that was amazing PR. I know that came in. It was everyone was remarking it. It was great. Came out of nowhere. But Clerk is now a new Redwood provider you could use for authentication. Did you see? I forget who did that one, Danny, but that was a really fun contribution. I just know we were all excited to see that.
Which one? Sorry,
on Clerk. I don't know if you reviewed that PR or not, but
yeah, I did review parts of it. I haven't used Clerk myself yet, but it seems to be a lot of people are interested in using it. It does look like an amazing product. So yeah, I'm keen to try it. It's on the Auth Playground. DT's configured it on the Auth Playground. If you wanted to see what it's like with Redwood. But I personally haven't tried it just yet.
And thank you to, I forget the individual's name that did that PR, but thank you. It was a pleasure to have you jump in.
I will find it for you.
Okay. And okay, contributing to Redwood made even easier. We for those fearless, peerless individuals that have jumped in to be contributors, and by the way, contributing to Redwood has a lot of different flavors to it. For those of you that are involved in our community forums and helping others be successful with Redwood or forums or chat, like you are a part of this community and a core part of this community. So thank you. People that do docs, the unspoken, often unsung heroes. Documentation is so important. Thank you. And of course, people that are contributing code as well. So there's a new command. Perhaps we could highlight that a little bit later on. but Redwood Framework Project Sync is what that's done, and it's taking everything we've learned about doing local development and being able to work in the framework packages locally and sync that work with a test project locally. And I believe the contributing docs were just updated by Dom as well. Let's take a look there.
Yeah, they are.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
what you can do also is you can click that browser-based one if you want.
Yeah, okay, wait, so do you see where I'm screen sharing here?
Yeah.
Gitpod?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. This wasn't, actually, I was going to tell you, I don't know if that was working yesterday. We'll talk, okay. So we have the Redwood Framework command, and we have, oh, fantastic. And we have this new thing called Gitpod. So that was the next thing for contributing I want to point out. So talk about GitHub. Gitpod as I go here.
Yeah. And so what this gives you is there's lots of steps in contributing. Anyone who's contributed to Redwood knows you've got to generate a test project. You then need to link or sync the project with your branch of the framework. And all of this, and you can still do that manually. That's what we do on our machines typically in the core team. So we will sync it up. But sometimes you just want to try out a quick fix. The answer for who did the Clerk one, by the way, is Zach. Zach.computer. Zach Shepard.
Here we go. I should have just clicked down there. I need to find that. Zach Shepard. Yeah. Thank you, Zach. Pleasure to have you join us as a contributor. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so what happens is when you press that Gitpod button, it does take a little while to pull the image. And what it does is it runs all of the commands to set up a test project and link it with your Redwood framework in that particular branch. Well, so when you press,
which is here, yeah, actually, I could have started there. It's actually doing what's in our contributing docs here, right? So it starts with a local setup, and then it goes through creating what's, let me bump this one more here, building a test project. That's a command that builds up a Redwood project and adds functionality, features to it, so you can use it as a test project. And keep going, Danny. And then we're getting into this part right here. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it does the link for you, and essentially it gives you a little test bed to see if you've just set up your branch and you want to see what's going on. You can just click that button, and it is taking a little bit longer. I wonder why. For me, it's like instant.
I think I was on it yesterday. I think it had to rebuild from where I was at yesterday.
Yeah. So what happens, it rebuilds every time we push to master. So sometimes it does take a while. But for most people, as soon as you click that, if you have a Gitpod account, you can do that. And you can see what it's done is, if you close that and just press try again, this usually happens on the first run. But
I'll give it a second there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me talk through, okay, we'll try again, and then we'll talk through what we're seeing here, because this is actually, I mean, I'm in my browser, ladies and gentlemen. I barely understand what's going on here. I'm in my browser.
In your browser, you have two projects, the actual Redwood framework, which on the left side is in a folder called Redwood, and a test app, which literally just got generated for your instance. So it makes sure that you get a completely fresh instance so that you can play around with this app with your changes. So if you're someone who wants to make a quick change, let's say there's a type, like a TypeScript type that isn't quite right, and you just want to fix that one little thing, this is a really great way to just get up a dev environment. You can test out your changes. And once you're done, you just create a pull request. And yeah, I think it's going to be really helpful for contributors. And I personally use it for reviewing PRs.
And that's what I was trying to show here. let me again bump this, but for any PR now, and we should talk about making this a little bit more visible. I know we tried one way, and I agree it didn't work as great, but we'll figure this out. We just have to look right here, but if you click on details, that opens up Gitpod for this PR. So it creates a branch for this PR. So as a maintainer, now I can use Gitpod to quickly review PRs that came in. I can run them in a test project, and it's just a much faster iterative cycle to help PRs move forward. I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to be clicking that details button quite often. The other thing, Danny, jump in and interrupt me here for a second. I just wanted to quickly show what's happening over here in the workspace. I tried to make this font size visible, but this is the Redwood framework code base for whatever branch that I have checked out, or it could be a PR. And then this is the test app that got generated. So when I talk about the framework, it's this code here in the directory. When I talk about the project, it's this code here in this directory. And then the two terminal panels that I have running, this is for my app. So this would be, oh yeah, that's there. So you can see that it ran through all the commands to link everything, but I'm in the directory. And this is the Redwood dev server. So this is yarn Redwood dev. And you can see, actually, there's some new output here, but this is the new Webpack 5 working. You'll see a little bit different in the console logs, but that's why I'm able to run the blog up here. This is crazy, and it's really going to be helpful. I'm excited about it. So click the button. Click that Gitpod button. Anything else on contributing docs are updated? You can check those out. And what this also means is I am most definitely going to be doing another contributing workshop in the next couple of weeks. I was waiting for some of this to become more solid. We've been working on this command for, I think, a couple months. And now it's stable. It's ready to go. This is working great on Windows, fingers crossed. And we'll be doing another contributing workshop. So I'll announce that on the forums and also on my Twitter account. If you want to watch me walk through, stumble through, contributing to Redwood using all of this tooling. Good times, Danny. Good times. All right.
So there's a question from Tharshan about what's the best way to set up Gitpod, and is there a recipe for the Redwood project? So Gitpod is set up using a YAML file that sits at the root of your project. So that .gitpod.yaml.
.gitpod. Oh, that's right. I always look up at the top. It's right here.
Yeah, so it's right there. And so what I would say is definitely, if you're interested, definitely take a look at this. But keep in mind that our Gitpod is going to be a lot more complicated than the Gitpod that you would need on your Redwood project. And that's because our Gitpod is for the framework. It creates this test project. It runs all of the setup commands. So for you, it should be much, much simpler. Just literally run yarn install and yarn dev.
Yes.
But yeah.
And there's one shortcut that you showed me, Danny. We're a little lost in the, I don't know how much time we were going to take here, but we're definitely taking some time. There's some goodness. The shortcut you showed me, I was going to go back to the contributing documentation. Mike is the founder or co-founder at Gitpod, is that correct?
I'm actually not sure.
Okay, I just know.
But he's a really nice guy. That's what I do know.
Man, he came to us, correct, and set up Gitpod out of nowhere. You two worked on it. Thank you, Mike, for making our lives a whole lot easier in the future. That's going to be fun. I wanted to show the shortcut that you did, testing framework code in your project, browser-based setup, right here. Okay, here's what I was going to do. So I'll copy this link. I want to show the link structure. There's just a hard way. I don't really have anywhere to highlight this. Maybe I can do this. Nah. Can you see that okay? Here's what I wanted to highlight. Can you actually see this little, my spotlight showing up, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you start with HTTPS, gitpod.io, and then hash, add a link to the branch or PR. In this case, it's just going to the main branch and Gitpod will spin up for you. So you could do this with any project. It's going to look for the YAML file, but that's it. So I could drop in, right? So I could drop in main or whatever branch or PR that is, and that's how it knows what to spin up for the code base. Really easy to use. Danny, the first time I saw you use that, I thought that's genius. I'm going to use that again. So I don't know if we highlighted that. We could probably add that down here as well somewhere, but really slick how that works. Okay, coming soon. This is also a really big deal, and we're also really excited about this big deal. We have for, I think, 6 weeks now. It's been we've been working with the Guild for months, but for 6 weeks now, I think, or something like that, we've offered a preview of running Envelop+Helix as your backend, the GraphQL server. Right now, Redwood runs on exclusively Apollo server using AWS Lambdas for the handler, and Envelop+Helix, the Guild created Envelop+Helix. We have just amazing people. We have a really enjoyable collaborative relationship with them, and many of those people came from Apollo company and have been working on GraphQL themselves, building new tooling, and we are really excited about what this means for Redwood. And gosh, I wish Tirson was here to kind of walk us through some things, but effectively, it's been in preview. We could show, we might be running out of time, how to run your app in preview. It's been going well, and we're going to be making the full transition, effectively deprecating the current GraphQL server and moving over to Envelop+Helix in the next release, so version 0.37. It will be pretty seamless. I think there will be a couple changes required from what I know right now, but you shouldn't see much going on unless you have some custom implementation. But we've been ironing out a lot of those things. I know Tharshan and David Tirson have been working really well together, and it's going to be so worth it. You need to read this forum post by David Tirson to understand all the implications, but it really opens Redwood up to being able to do a lot more for the deploy targets, the hosting infrastructure that we target, but also we've already seen improvements to GraphQL security, best practices. Man, there's just some really cool stuff coming because of Envelop+Helix. I'm being super ambiguous and very non-specific. Read this blog post, start following some PRs, and get excited. It's something you could test out now on your project. If you want to start using it now, just follow the instructions here at the end of this blog post. I recommend you do. I think you're going to really like it. And then you'll see it for sure in version 0.37. Is there any chance, Danny, that DT is here right now? I'm not sure if he is. I'm not sure if Danny's here anymore. Maybe Danny is.
Sorry, I am.
Oh, that's okay.
I just
yeah, go
muted.
ahead.
DT isn't here, but Dom is coming on stage.
Oh, great. I was hoping you were off getting a cocktail, Danny, because you deserved it. You've earned it, and it's evening for you. So you're spending your Friday night at the end of a long release cycle hanging out with me, talking to no one on the internet, or talking to sorry, you all are very special people, but I'm just talking to my screen right now, as are you, and I wish we could hang out. That's what I mean. Okay. Anything? I'm going to keep going on the. All right. We're going to go pretty quickly to the changelog because I actually want to change some things. We'll try to drop this in to the release notes every time, but this is just amazing. 24 unique contributors that participated in this. Thank you to each and every one of you. And this is a big number. We ship a lot of code, and by we, that's the collective we, people that are contributing to Redwood. But oh man, that is a lot of merged PRs, and the highlights alone show everything that's been going on. So get excited because Redwood is getting a lot better. Is there anything, anyone in the chat or Dom or Danny, anything else you want me to highlight in the changelog before we move forward? I'm trying to go slowly there. There's a lot of stuff, and I think we covered the big chunks in the highlights. I know I missed some things though. scrolling.
I think that's pretty good. Like, we just need to probably do an upgrade.
We actually need to upgrade a thing, don't we? Okay.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Okay. Has the chat used the new emoji reactions that they have, Danny?
They have, yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. What kind of, that was a new feature that popped up when I turned on the live stream.
Yeah, there were some claps and
Ooh.
thumbs ups and I don't know
man.
whatnot. It's cool.
Man, now we're living large. We're living large on the internet. Even though we don't get to hang out, we can emoji each other. So, hey, it's a step. Okay, breaking things. There are a lot of breaking things here. Again, most of these will be edge cases. And not that that isn't important, but most projects actually won't experience much that breaks when they upgrade, aside from some changes that they need to make. So I mentioned Webpack, I mentioned Jest. Important that you, if you think you might be one of those edge cases, just check out the documentation, the post that I created here, pointing you to the migration guide that we followed. This is all the things that we upgraded in the internal packages for Redwood. And ask questions here. If you're running into something, there's right down here, I do want to point this out. Here's a little catch with Jest. This did break quite a few things in the framework unit tests that test function no longer allows done and a callback. It's a pretty easy one to diagnose. You'll see those tests falling. It's a very simple thing to fix. You remove the done. Click on these links if you have any questions. Drop a line in this forum post and I will help you walk through what I did. Again, I think people are probably going to experience things with Webpack Dev Server v4, because let's go here to the official docs right quick. The Dev Server options, this API changed. And if you're passing any options or have any custom config in your app, it's most likely that's Dev Server related. There's a good chance that something changed here, and you'll just need to look and see what the API requires of you now. But that's a pretty easy fix. And these docs are now updated for Dev Server v4, which is what is compatible with Webpack 5. And why they can't just keep the two versions, like major versions, the same, I don't know, because it's super confusing. Okay, let's go back to where we were. That was a fun one. Just configuration changes, we'll get to those in the code modifications. Some commands got removed that you probably weren't using anyway. That's been since like version 25, I believe, that those commands were deprecated. So those are gone. And then new loginHandler. If Rob is available, we'll have him talk through some of those things. But there is a breaking change to dbAuth. There's some really great walkthrough instructions for what you need to do and how to use a new loginHandler to upgrade. Okay, should we do a thing? Should we?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I was going to fire up the RBAC project, and well, actually, do you have anything in a project you want to upgrade that you want to share on screen, Danny? Or do we want to tag team on this, or we could just walk through an app that I pull up? What do you think? What's most helpful?
I'm happy for you to do the RBAC. I'll go through it with you,
Okay.
because my projects on my machine are already kind of halfway there, so I didn't have all the steps.
Okay, let's do that. So I don't know this project very well at all, so this will be really fun. Let's open this up in GitHub Desktop. This is my workflow. I let someone else do all the hard work for me, which is GitHub Desktop, because, developer. Cloning that guy. So my thought here was, we've got the history, and I will just create a branch before he did the upgrade to v0.36. And see, look at this. I just click this button, it creates the branch from a commit for me. Like, it's so great, right? I don't even have to remember the git commands, although I'd be a better developer if I did. Livestream, walkthrough. Oh yeah, and I didn't really put my little initials there. We're doing it. We got a branch, right? What do you think? Oh, I didn't want to publish that. Sorry, dude. I wanted to open it in Visual Studio Code. Huh? Okay, we'll minimize. No, double click should make it go away. All right, we have a couple other projects we can run with when we need. And then lastly, let me know about font size. If that is not big enough, go ahead and jump in.
One more, I think.
Okay, got it. All right, do we have a thing? I think we do. I should yarn this thing. Yeah, let's spin it up because I'd like to show just what it looks like before and after the upgrade for the console log, etc. And because I don't know this project, I want to see what we're supposed to see when it's actually running. That seems like a reasonable thing, right? We are on, I want to make sure we're Postgres.
Yeah, that's the thing you need to be aware of. It's Postgres, so it may not work locally for you right away, but we can still run through the upgrade steps.
Totally. I could, let's just see what the...
if you go into .env defaults, maybe it's there.
Let's see what we got. Yeah, he's just calling it database. I think it'll just, we'll see. I think it'll just create that database on my local Postgres. If not, I've got Tables Plus, and that's how I roll. So we can create that database really quickly. Okay, yarn Redwood dev. And again, this is a project that's running on version 35.2 or 3. I didn't look. I think 2 was the patch releases we got to, correct?
Yeah.
And I forgot a thing, Danny.
You have to seed.
I did. So I need a seed. I also, well, you know what I need to do before I seed? I don't think it's going to like this. This is where it's going to Prisma migrate dev, right? And this is where it's going to say, there's no such thing. There's no database, right? So table plus.
It's not in your .env defaults, DP. That's the issue. So if
sorry, very good point. Actually, I looked at that and yeah, it is. Mine is, well, let's see.
So Postgres, you don't need a username and password. It's just Postgres at localhost.
Yeah, I want to see. Let me do a quick check just to make sure that I'm not doing anything crazy. I am not. Okay. I'll grab that guy. Thank you. I was looking too quickly and RBAC local. Well, let's pretend. Okay, RBAC local, save that, run this guy again. I think I still need to create the DB. I forget if it will do it. Yeah, I still need to
it will do it for you now. Just be aware, DP, there's a slight lag between when you're talking and on the screen.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. I spend very little time in, hang on a second here. I want to go, oh man, help me. How do I pull up? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to press that button. Yeah,
that's where it is.
Database.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. See, this is fun. We're having a good time.
I think it does create it. It probably, did you save the change and uncomment the database URL variable?
I did.
Yeah. And if you scroll down, just in case there isn't another database.
Great. Yeah. Check that out.
Yeah, that's the reason it's failing. But it does create it for you.
That's okay.
So if you just remove that.
Understood. That's what I thought. And do we need any of these?
It's fine. Like
those are okay.
Yeah, those are okay. We're not going to try and do auth right now anyway. So.
Thank you. That was a good. Failed to apply cleaning the shadow database error. I might need to do. I think I'm doing some. I messed it up. Migrate. Let's try this. Reset.
Yeah, migrate, reset, and then migrate that.
I do want all of that. Huh.
Let's have a look at your database URL string, and then it might.
I saved that. What do you think?
So Postgres at
That's what I copied.
localhost looks okay to me. Let me double check.
You know what might be going on? Actually, I bet this is it. I'm going to recreate this migration. I think which is easy to do, right? So let's just clean that out, and let's create a new. Do I even need to wipe my DB at this time? I think I could just create a new I think it'll create a new migration and go from there.
Yeah, just migrate dev or migrate reset.
I might reset. Well, we'll let that run, see if it does it. That would have been it. It's trying to run the seed on top of that. And now if I do dev, I think we got it. Yeah, I forgot that seed is now a part of some of the Prisma commands. You know, I would have been really kind if I had just done this before we started the live stream. But hey, now people get to see. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So now we should be able, I might need to restart the server, but let's take a look. No, it didn't even fire up, did it? Oh, wait, it should.
It has. It just probably has it disabled. So you might want to,
right?
You need to restart the server, I think.
Okay.
Because it's using the old Prisma client, probably.
Yep. Do you know? I wasn't watching closely enough. Doesn't the Prisma migrate dev? Doesn't that include the seed command? Doesn't it run seed at the end as well? I know reset does.
I don't think it does.
Okay, I forget. Yeah, I just forget which ones have the seed in there. Okay, so all of that to get a local version 35 Redwood project up and running, and we'll go through the upgrade process. And
assuming this is the state your project is currently at, because it should be working because you've been deving on it.
Yes.
So now we're just going to upgrade it.
Yeah. Okay. Look at this. Look at these good things we got going on here. Yep. Now we're going to upgrade it. That's a good song. There's a good song. Okay, very nice. And we have Tailwind, so we have some fun things to do. I will go ahead and I'm going to shut down the dev server because things are just going to break a lot. But let's close that out and let's get up to version 36. How to upgrade. This is a pretty simple one. We're going to remove babel RC inside of the API. And Danny, tell us why. What's going on here? This has to do with the performance improvements that we talked about. And but yeah, as I'm going through, let's walk through the why, and also if people, some edge cases for people that might be doing some custom things with Babel.
Yeah. So the reason we don't need this file anymore is because as part of the Redwood build process, we automatically attach all of the plugins that are necessary to build your project for you. That configuration file there used to tell us what plugins we should use. That is no longer required because we internally hold all of the Babel config for the API side. The website we're going to change soon as well. So when you remove it, what that says is, I don't have any custom config, so just use the defaults. And that's probably 90% of people. But if you happen to have a Babel plugin on your project, on the API side, again, I remind you, like most people probably have it on the website, but API side is probably rare. For this one, what you want to do is usually you follow the guide of the plugin you're adding. So you create this babel.config.js file. It's important to call it this name because that's what we look for. And then here you do the usual module.exports and you specify your plugins. Let's not go into the detail of that because it varies a lot based on the plugin. but this is the file you want to add it into if you have custom Babel plugins on the API side. What's really important is that if we go to the Babel config.js on the root of the project.
Yeah, thank you. I was about to open that up. I didn't want to confuse you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it would look something like this, and you would probably have plugins and that sort of thing. What's really important is that in the API Babel config, you don't extend or you don't set this RedwoodJS core Babel preset. That's really important because what we now do is, like I said, we use the internally configured Babel plugins, but then we use ES build to finally transform your code into the disk folder. If you did add this in, it may happen to work for you, but it could have like lots of unintended consequences. So the best thing to do is don't import the Babel preset or Babel config on the API side. The website, you're still fine to do that for now if you're using any stuff there.
Yep. Okay. And for the most part, we, if you don't have to use custom implementations for Babel and plugins, we would recommend don't doing it. Lean on us as much as you can. And also, if there's things that you think are improvements that would be generally helpful for any Redwood project, we'd rather see that in the main packages, so that the built-in config as well. So, okay, so to reiterate, there are 2 Babel RC files, one in web, one in API. Leave web alone and just delete the API. And that is what we've done. Well, that was easy. Man, this upgrading isn't so hard so far, Danny. I get so many good things and have to do so little. I wish for everyone. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Option B, we're good. More information, we've got a link for you there. All right, and now we get into how to set your app's title has changed. This has to do with the SEO improvements. Simone, if you are, I'm not sure if he's around and wants to talk about some of this, but it'd be great to have him highlight that. So let's do 2 things here. Let's make sure that the RBAC project is not already setting a custom page title, right? So we could pull that, and then let's go ahead and follow this link and these instructions to add the new SEO features for pages for the page title. I could also show, I'll generate a new page too, just to show what comes with a new page when you generate it. The new default settings for head information. So does that sound like a plan? Webpack config.
Sounds great.
Right. Sounds like a plan. All right. Do we have
Rob, Dom, David can't see us. So if you're agreeing, say something because he can't see us.
Config. Webpack. We got it. Webpack config. Ooh, look at that. So
this is how we used to have to set the title for
no fun.
It's no fun, and yeah, it really isn't nice having to configure Webpack ever.
And here's how I feel about this file. Delete it. Yeah, we don't need it.
Yeah, go for it. If this is the only thing that was in your Webpack config file and you don't have any other configuration, just delete it.
Right. Yeah, that was it. So we don't need that. But I still want page titles. Right? I still want to do that. So let's go here and let's open this guy. All right. Where am I right now? I am redwoodjs.com, docs. Look at all these docs, man. Look at each of these. That just makes my heart sing a little bit. Doc people, you're the best. SEO and head and add app title. All right. First thing I'm noticing is Redwood.toml has a new config, and it's this right here. So title. I'm not sure why I'd need I could change it right there. I got it. My cool app. I'm going to add my cool app to my Redwood.toml. Boom. So I use the Command P shortcut to look for some files. I and there's redwood.toml. Just start typing that in. That's the toml file in the root of your project. Here we go, including environment variables. Yep, I need that stuff still. Right here at the bottom of the web section, title, RBAC demo. All right, and I saved it. That was easy. I don't think that's all that I have to do. Title template, and here I need to make a change to the Redwood provider component in web. I'm not sure if you can see that, it's a little bit small, but in my app file .tsx or JS, and I'll copy this line here. So I'm adding a prop right there. We'll just copy that all the way in. So let's go find that. And I'm going to pull up, well, here, I normally, just so you have some context where I'm going, inside my web directory, I'm looking for source app.js. This is a JavaScript language targeted project. And right here, the Redwood provider. We will just replace that. I'm going to save. I think that's it. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, adding a page head. Okay. Well, one more thing. Okay, so that I had to do to upgrade, but let me show you this. What do you get when you generate a page now? Because there's some new defaults there. So let's do a yarn redwood generate page foo.
We didn't run upgrade. We didn't run.
You know, that's not going to work until I upgrade to 36.
Yeah.
Good
So we're
Dan.
doing the code mods first and then doing the upgrade.
Okay, I put that on my list. Let's show a new generated page. And we'll come back to that so people can see, because there's some other things you can do out of the box for page description, etc. And let's destroy that thing. So I could roll it back in my commit, but I don't know if people know about the yarn redwood destroy. Here, let me clear this. And actually, this will probably be helpful for people. Okay, now you can see yarn redwood destroy. Huh? That feels like it's about to do something dangerous. Page foo. Bada boom, bada bang. And foo should be destroyed. Look at that. All gone, cleaned up. There is no more foo. It's like it never happened. Did you know about the destroy command, Danny?
I know about it. I've never used it.
Do you destroy?
I don't destroy. I usually use git. That's just my preferred.
Understood. I agree. But if you get into a project and you've committed things, I actually have for upgrades on my test projects, etc. Right, so I'm way past when I might have generated scaffolding crud, and I can use destroy to go wipe all that out. I could force override it, but sometimes it just feels better to destroy, and it works really well. All right, so more information here about what you can do with SEO on your pages. We'll come back to that, but that's it. I think we did all the things. So we deleted, and then I followed the steps to make 2 more modifications. Okay, here's a good one, upgrade Tailwind. This is not required, but when we upgraded Webpack 5, we could upgrade the dependencies for Tailwind, and also we upgraded the default config for Tailwind. There's a just-in-time mode that helps for performance. There's also default purge. Tailwind itself is a pretty hefty library, megabytes in size. When you purge, when you build, it cleans out all the code you don't use. It becomes a very small file size. So you want to purge, we added purge defaults, and that was Dom. Dom did all this. Actually, we should have Dom talk me through this one. Dom, are you there?
I am, and luckily this one's, I feel like it's just as easy, so it'll be in the same theme.
Okay, so this is look at this, that's you right there. All right, walk me through. Well, first off, I'm assuming that DT did this with Tailwind. Okay, good. There's Tailwind right there. And so we will upgrade it. But if I'm on a brand new project, these are all the new defaults. So what you're about to show me, Dom, is what will happen if I ran yarn redwood setup Tailwind for the first time, right?
Yeah, this is all baked into the new setup command that's on 36. But luckily, if you have an older setup, migrating it manually is pretty straightforward. So no need to feel like you have to blow anything up and start over or anything like that.
Okay, rock and roll. Well, let's start here. So upgrading dependencies. I will copy these. And there are, so there's a new dependency here too. Is that correct? Well, I guess we'll find out.
Didn't explicitly specify post CSS before, but we're doing it now. So you'll just see one more dependency than you would have in your web package JSON. And depending on how many other libraries you have in there, you might, or dev dependencies, that's where you'll find them. So it looks like it's the only bunch over there.
Got it. Yeah. Checking to make sure it wasn't up here in the dependencies group. And I'm gonna think that's it. I think I did it.
Yeah, that's really it.
Okay, I'll save that, and that's gonna break if I run it now because I'm on 35. So I won't do that yet, but very good. We've got that, and all right, cool. Okay, step one. Step two.
Step two would be run yarn install, but we're gonna wait for that till we upgrade, I think. And then
I did miss that. Got it. Yeah, right here. Okay.
Yeah, maybe do the upgrade now, DP, or.
Ooh, that's okay. I like it. So that would be, and what we're talking about when we do the upgrade is, let me see what I've got committed. We'll keep all those things there. All right. Yarn Redwood upgrade. Is it really that simple, you guys? Come on. It is that simple. It's fun to upgrade things. Ooh, here while it's upgrading, if people didn't know, the upgrade command has a few other tricks up its sleeve. So for example, you can run yarn redwood upgrade, and I use this a lot. Tag, also known as tag, -t, canary. And that will automatically upgrade me to whatever the latest canary version is. Or I could do tag RC. We don't use RCs all that much yet, but when we're within a couple days of a release, you'll see release candidates, and that's a release candidate. Or I could do tag v0.30.0. And actually, I forget if there's a V. I don't think there is. I think it's just that. Does anyone know for sure? But I can upgrade to a specific version of a release. And to find out, I would just either run that and see if it fails, or if you go to npmjs.org for any of these packages, you can see what the actual tags are. But anyway, the upgrade command is super handy, and you can do all kinds of things with it. All right, my project has been upgraded to RedwoodJS 0.36. I like it, and we upgraded as well the everything for Tailwind. All right, so I think it's good. What was I gonna do? Oh, I was generating page.
You're now going to run install, I believe.
Well, which it should have.
It's kind of already run for you.
We could do it. We'll do it again. I'm gonna force.
We'll do it just to be faithful.
Yep.
Faithful to the guide.
That's
and also because I'm following you along. So you.
Oh, you are. Oh, nice. Yeah. So Yarn, I use Yarn Force a lot because I don't trust Yarn. And you know what's really interesting? Yarn 3, which I've been working on a PR to get the framework up to Yarn 3, does not have a force command. And that was really scary at first, I'll be honest, because I don't trust Yarn. But if Yarn 3 says you don't have to force anymore, then man, I'm a believer. We'll see. Okay, next step, move and update Tailwind config and postcss.config. All right.
Yeah, this one's like it's more of like a housekeeping, at least the first part. Like the Tailwind config file was in the web source, or it was in the web root directory, but we have a place for config files, and it's in web/config. The reason we couldn't put it there before was the CSS extension, Tailwind CSS extension on VS Code just wouldn't recognize it in a deep directory like that. So, but now it does. So we can go ahead and be organized and move it over there.
Okay, perfect. So really the change here is change the directory, and I'll do that first. So I want to make sure they're both inside a config. correct? And,
yeah, that's right.
Okay, I'll do that first, and then I'll make the updates.
Post CSS config should already be in there, and so we just have to modify where it thinks the Tailwind config lives, because it used to live in a directory above, but now it's just going to live beside it.
Move. Well, that was easy. And then post CSS, and it's just, well, do I need to do that? I forgot.
You can get rid of that even. Yeah, there you go.
All right. That's it.
That's it for the move. I think we can update some Tailwind config settings now.
Got it. Ooh, we've got some custom here, it looks like. Okay. Enable true font family. Got it. Remove deprecated gap, purge layers by default. Okay, so question, Dom, do we know we just upgraded to, I didn't see what this was before, so let's take a look.
It used to be 1.8 or something.
Oh, got it. So we're on the future now. If this was 1.8 and we're on 2.2, so we have a few other things we can move as well. Okay, great. Let me grab this.
You could probably just take the mode one even, because I don't know how much of that custom config is necessary for the app here. And this is like a good point just to make. If you have other custom Tailwind config, you don't have to delete it all. But if you want to enjoy just-in-time mode, you do have to have mode and purge set. So,
okay. So it looks like...
that's what I've just done. So I left all of my custom plugins and variants and theme, everything as is. And I just added mode and purge at the top.
And then it looks like this just a little bit different config on purge.
Yeah.
Looks the same. I could probably keep that. Enable true content. I'm guessing this syntax will work.
This should work as well. Okay. But just for safekeeping, what I've done is I've just matched the recommended one. But that's preference, because I just try and keep the project in sync with the official Redwood way of doing it. Just helps.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's give it a shot there. I agree. I do the same, because you know, if Dom recommends it, who am I to say?
That's it.
Question about dark mode. What is dark mode, Dom?
Dark mode explodes your Tailwind config file, or just like the amount of CSS you're shipping, because it basically makes like a variant for almost every class for dark mode. And so you can think of it as like kind of doubling the size of Tailwind. But I mean, if you're using dark mode, it's obviously a great investment. It's just they don't really set it to true at first because of how much it balloons the CSS. So you just kind of have to know you want it first.
I don't see dark mode. I don't think I want dark mode.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Okay.
But it's nice to know it's there.
And you guys have tested. You don't need.
Is that Rob?
It is me. You guys have tested. You don't need enable true on purge anymore, because there was like on Netlify there was a thing right where node end isn't really set properly, so it never realized it was in production and it would never purge. Does anyone double check that?
Yeah, you can go ahead and just use the simple like array you're passing with like the glob. And the thing to note about purge and just-in-time mode actually is that like before, purge was kind of like a nice to have, and it didn't matter if it was there or not, Tailwind would still work, but it won't work at all with just-in-time mode if you don't have purge set, because the compiler doesn't know which files to look at. So you're definitely better off just like enabling purge and leaving that setting there. It'll make your life easier if you're switching between modes and whatnot.
So just by setting that array, that's basically enabling true automatically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Rock and roll. This is not Loki. There are no variants. Great stuff coming out from Disney Plus, y'all. No, I just crickets. See the end. It's like, did I land that joke? Does anyone?
No, we're laughing just on mute.
Okay, that's good. I just want to make sure. It's hard to feel sane. It's this whole YouTubing thing. It's just, I don't know about my sanity sometimes.
Well, while we're on the topic of variants, one thing that's cool about just-in-time mode is you can define them kind of like on the fly. So if you had a variant that you only used once, you really don't need to have it listed there anymore. You can just use the square bracket syntax to make it kind of like in the one-off way that Tailwind recommends now.
Okay. Did we link
Yeah,
to docs?
I've been using it for a little while on a couple of different projects, and it's not often that you need to use a custom thing with Tailwind, but it's super helpful when you do. And another really useful use case for it is sometimes you just want to set the background color to lime and make it look horrible. And just while you're debugging, because there's no way anyone in their right mind would set something to lime. That's what I use to debug. Hey, if that works for you, great tip from me right here.
I like that. That is a great tip. And you are a sane person. You're not just in a room by yourself talking to your computer. We are listening, Danny. We are listening. But yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, that was my Loki variant tangent. The just-in-time mode showing docs here. Go ahead, jump in.
That should be it, actually. It's just we can go ahead and like double check the index.css, but if you just went with the regular setup and you didn't change anything, you shouldn't have to change anything now, and you're upgraded to the latest and greatest Tailwind.
Fantastic.
With purging on, is there any reason not to turn on dark mode then?
Yeah, you totally could. So it's just I think they don't know if you want to use just-in-time mode or not, so it gets generated by default, and I probably could have gone in and deleted it too, or changed it to true, but yeah, it seems fine. Totally.
Do we need to sing the praise of Tailwind CSS one more time? I like React better because of Tailwind CSS. It's so much cleaner to work with. So it was really a huge improvement for me. And they're, it's a great library. Their UI utilities or components are fantastic. I think you should use Tailwind if you're not, internet. That's my vote. We sure do.
One thing to note on this index file, like there's a lot of ways to include Tailwind in your bundle, and I thought about doing it in a simpler way by just including a CSS file from the Tailwind package in app.js, but we want Storybook to have access to our styles too. So it's important to set it from this index CSS file so that Storybook knows you want Tailwind when it renders. Otherwise, you might not see any of your styles in Storybook. But if you just go with the setup command, you're all good. So don't worry.
Okay, that's a really important point. Yes, thank you. I forgot that you had fixed that because we didn't see those in Storybook.
I ran into a really interesting, it's not a bug. I made a mistake during the upgrade. So I wanted to share that because I feel like other people might make the same mistake.
Do you want to share your screen or just walk us through it? Tell me what to do.
Let me walk you through it because it makes sense on the project you've been doing. So if we go back to the Redwood TOML, do you remember when we were setting the title, you set RBAC demo?
Yep.
When you were doing that, I did that, but without the quotes. And it gave me a very strange error. The error isn't really helpful, so you might want to show the error that you get. So if you run yarn rwdeb, yeah, that's a really bad idea. It's not particularly helpful, the error that you're going to see. But that's because the TOML syntax requires that we wrap the syntax, the string.
So yeah, that's gross. But
yeah,
at least it points me to the TOML, so that's good.
Exactly. Okay. So and if you to fix that, all you have to do is just make sure your title is wrapped in double quotes.
Okay. So go back.
I think single quotes is also okay, but I'm not a TOML expert.
I didn't want that. Yeah, it seems that we use double quotes. Well, you know what? We're going to find out. I am curious. Let's see what we got.
Rob, you're a TOML expert, aren't you?
If only we had Tom for TOML.
Looks like it's going.
I made the official site. If you go to toml.io, I made that site. But
oh, you did?
I never actually read the spec. I just wrote the homepage for it.
Good work. That looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it passed. I'll shut that down for now.
But yeah, useful to know, because it's an easy mistake to make. I was literally following along, so shouldn't have happened, but hey.
Good, thank you. Okay, upgrade Tailwind, we did that. dbAuth, new login handler, huh?
Oh, do we want to make sure Tailwind worked, David, by looking at the dev server and seeing the styles remain the same? Or
sure, that's a great. Yep, let's do it now. I just want to see if there's anything else to do, and then let's come back and Rob can talk us through the changes to dbAuth. All right, what do we have? Anything that shouldn't be over here? That all looks good. And I did upgrade, so we are on, and I could confirm, we are on 36 across the board, running yarn Redwood dev. And while this runs, just point out, you'll see the output is going to feel a little different. We're on Webpack 5 now. It's a little bit more verbose. That is a setting you could change if you need more or less information. You could look in the dev server logs to see how you could change those settings. Where it's verbose is it's giving more information. And this is actually, if the output is like none, light, medium, and large, that's not the right way to say it. This is actually the light mode for dev server. We could either turn it off or leave it here, but it's just telling us more information about what actually got built or bundled. This looks like it though. Oh, we're not running. I was looking for GraphQL. Ooh, so that's something else we could do. That was in the last one, but we can do logging now for GraphQL, and that's what I was looking for here. I don't know if we have Logger installed on this or set up on this project. So, but nothing having to do with version 0.36. I was just looking for logging output, which I didn't see. Okay, enough of that. Let's head over here. And I'm refreshing, This all looks like good, right?
yeah, looks awesome. So it should just be that easy, hopefully.
So this project is officially upgraded, right?
Yeah, you can start using square bracket syntax, and like your CSS should be purged to the minimum. Only what you've used will be included. So
very, very nice. I wonder, are we running in the routes? I'll look at one more thing. Go into routes. This is in the web directory, web source routes. I want to see if we had pre-render. We do have pre-render set up. Okay. That's good. So I don't think it will. I was going to do a build test. So yarn Redwood build. A lot of the things happening under the hood to build change. This is where there's a two-step process on the API, cleaning web, using Webpack 5. And I'm not sure if this is fast or not. It's always subjective, hard to tell. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had a clean build on this. I guess another thing we could test is the Redwood serve command. We don't need to do that now, but there'd be some improvements. Well, actually, Danny, did yarn Redwood serve change? I don't know. I don't think that did. We're just more closely coupling that. Well, it is using serve for the local dev. That's what changed. But would have yarn Redwood serve changed, Danny? Do you know? I don't think it did.
No, it didn't. The only change there was to support the functions in the folders.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so dist, I could see what was built here, and that all looks good. We did it. We didn't really run into too many errors. Actually, that was pretty simple. So for all the changes, for all the highlights we had, that was a fairly simple upgrade process. Rob, or anything else about those steps? And then Rob, next up, let's talk about the new login handler for dbAuth. Any questions? Is there anyone still watching this? Anyone else joining us that has questions?
There are 4 people besides us.
Oh, okay. Look at that. We're popular.
Equal.
Oh,
Rob,
no.
there's echo from your...
Someone just left as soon as I said that.
Oops.
Here, I'll do let me do my headphones on. Better? Worse?
Better. No echo.
Okay.
Oh, I heard a question. Boop, boop.
It was just a comment. We're not sleeping. Everyone's paying attention. Mr. David Price.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for paying attention. I appreciate that very much. So hopefully this is helpful. All right, Rob Cameron,
Thanks
tell
for
us what
paying
we've
attention.
won. dbAuth.
Yeah, if you actually just want to keep sharing your screen, we can go through on yours.
Cool.
So if you're using dbAuth, the greatest authentication method available in Redwood, this is where you use your own database for authentication instead of a third-party system. If you click on the docs there, it says the C dbAuth configuration docs. And we'll just scroll down here a little bit. Go down to, so the sign-up handler. So scroll down to just show the sign-up handler section. Yeah. So you've had this since the beginning. So this is basically, you have a sign-up page and you get a username and a password and potentially other fields like name or whatever. And we don't know what needs to be done to consider a created user in your system. So you basically define this login, the sign-up handler that says, here's all the data. You just do whatever you need to do. In this case, it's just simply creating a user using Prisma. It's setting the email, the hash password, and the salt. And then in this case, there was an additional attribute for the name. So it adds the name in there. And that works great. But for logging in, that just sort of automatically happened. Like if the person's username and password was correct, they were logged in, no questions asked. And someone had a request that says, hey, when people sign up, I then make them verify their email. And I don't want them to be able to log in if they haven't verified their email. So the username and password is correct.
Got it.
The username and password is correct, but they still shouldn't be able to log in. So he was asking, can there be a login handler similar to sign-up handler?
Got it.
If you scroll up a little bit.
Scroll up. Is it right here under configuration login handler? Is that,
Well, it's right above sign-up handler.
Oh, it's right there. Got it. Yep.
Yeah. So now,
new?
So if you've already had dbAuth installed, you wouldn't have had this login handler because this is now new in 36. So you would just need to go in and next to sign-up handler, also create this login handler. And by default, it would just return user. So it receives the user, and that's the user who was found with the matching username and password. And now inside login handler, you can either return that user if the person is good to go, or you can throw an error. So in this case, like you would throw, hey, you got to validate your email address. And then in your login page, you can pop up a little toast, and the default generator has that toast ready to go. It pops up and will show an error message with whatever you display there. So in this case, it'll say, please validate your email first. And
that's nice.
And then once they do that, presumably that check would pass, and then they would just return the user, and then the user would be logged in.
Nice work.
Ta-da.
Ta-da!
Now, this does enable, I realized this in the shower the other day. I had a shower thought.
Because that's where all the best thoughts come from. I'm with you.
That's right. This enables some secret functionality, which is basically customer service person's favorite function ever, which is being able to log in as someone else.
Oh,
right.
Also known as God mode.
Right. So instead of returning the user you were passed, you could look up another user and return that instead.
Oh man.
So you would have to enable some way to say which user that was you wanted. So maybe you set some variable somewhere or set a cookie that says, actually, I want to be user 1234. And when you reach this method, assuming I am an admin, right? So you could check the user, make sure the user is an admin.
Right.
And if they have that additional value set, return that user instead.
Wow. Also slick. A little creepy, but having done that.
I know.
Before,
I think I thought about making like a cookbook article about that, but I don't know if we want to promote that. But yeah, it's basically like as soon as you add that functionality, like customer service people cannot live without it because it's like the greatest thing ever.
It is. It's so hard to help people because otherwise you're like, what screen are you on? Can you go through? Right. That's like,
You should definitely ask, make sure they ask permission to do that before they do it.
Right. So what you just said about like, are you an admin? Then you can do it. That also, for those listening in, definitely don't skip that part. It's not okay for anyone to log in as anyone else. That is not what we're advising. That's actually really bad. Okay. Nice work. And then right here in this post by you, so it covers the same things, but this is more about, there are breaking changes. So you need to do, make some code mods, correct?
Right. So we need that. We always assume that login handler will exist and we try to call it. So if it doesn't exist, you'll get a big fat error. So just add that login handler again.
Got it. So there's the login handler, updated signup handler, and then this is effectively the code mod.
Yeah, it's just showing you like where it would go. So that's what it looks like now. And then you can see there it says add this function. So that's the very simplest version. It's just, yes, the user is good to go, log them in.
Okay. Yeah. So that if I were to run the setup for dbAuth in a new project, that's what I would see by default in a new project.
Right. You'd already get that. So
okay.
And then I should say in 37, that syntax is probably changing again, because now we're going to let you also set the error messages. So by default, like if user not found, password incorrect, those error messages are hard coded right now into the Redwood framework. So we're going to let you customize those error messages. And then we're kind of simplifying the syntax. So instead of sign up handler, login handler, it'll be like sign up, and then inside sign up will be the handler, the error messages, anything else we want to add, and then there'll be a login. Inside that will be handler error messages, and actually have the login expires number in that little sub object as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that'll be handy. Is this?
So that'll clean that up quite a bit.
Is this never?
That's 10 years.
There's been some good conversations about login expiration. Actually, Rob, if I recall, the reason that dbAuth exists is because of this right here. Is that correct?
Basically, yeah. So I was happily using Netlify/Auth and never saw any problems until I have an app now that's just like a long running app that'll just every 5 minutes it'll poll and get some new data. And I would just get randomly logged out, and I was freaking out. And DT found that there was kind of a bug in our Netlify/Auth code that didn't really refresh the token properly. And he thought he fixed that, but I was still seeing it, and Danny actually saw it too in our back playground.
Right.
So it does seem to still happen, and I never want to. This is like the same as Tom. He has the same opinion as me. I never want to be logged out of any app ever, as long as I live. Don't ever make me log in twice. So I was like, I can't live like this anymore. Screw it. I'm just gonna make my own auth, and that's where dbAuth came from, basically. So I'll never be logged out.
Well, I mean, technically, 10 years down the road, you'll have to, but that's like now,
well.
So I know
the trick is though, every time you hit the GraphQL endpoint, that your login section refreshes. So it's only if you don't refresh the page for 10 years. As long as you go somewhere within 10 years, you'll get another 10 years.
That's a really okay. Got it. That's an even more understood. I don't like that as well. Yeah. So it's the page refresh, but if you're polling, if it's like a real time, if I'm getting updates on something, I want to leave that page open. I don't want it just to randomly expire on me and then force me to log back in. Got it. I've experienced that too. That is super annoying. So,
but it seems like other auth. I don't think most of the other auth providers had that problem, but Netlify uses GoTrue, and it seems like Netlify, they haven't changed their identity stuff in like 2 years. Like I think they've kind of they set it and they're just good to go now. They don't really care about it anymore. So maybe there's something they need to change on their end, but they don't seem to care. So they haven't fixed it.
It has been a while. I think I looked at that. Yeah, it's been a long little while. Someone might have. Oh, anyway, GoTrue. Someone might have started working on that package again. I forget, but I got it. And now we have dbAuth. So there we go.
Auth system, and it's just nice for me not to have another third party integration requirement that you got to keep up, and subscriptions expire and credit cards. It's just one less thing to worry about.
Yes, understood. Nice work. So dbAuth, and that was new in the last version, so 0.35. So there's a trailer out there if you want to really get inspired, which was great. Anyway, from our generation, it was a trailer with a nice little reference. But,
if you've seen the TV show Lost, that trailer will have more significance to you.
And if you haven't seen Lost, you should see it. Yeah. And unfortunately, I felt a little older when I realized how long ago Lost actually had its first season. So we won't talk about that.
Well, I think you should see Lost, but you shouldn't finish Lost, is our official opinion, right?
I think that was the group consensus. Don't watch the final season. Something like that. That was pretty good. Did we do it? Is that it? We went through all the things. Any more? Okay, so thank you, Rob, and everyone else. I am trying to figure out where to go next. So we're running this. Let me stop my screen share. And is there any edge cases, any other questions to cover? For those that stuck around for this and are listening in, do you want to join us on stage and talk about any edge cases you have? So I could go a little longer. Wow, hour and 45 minutes. We crushed this, you all. Danny, what are you still doing here? It's Friday night.
Keeping you company, man.
Well, that I appreciate. That I appreciate. So
yeah, don't you have to go to the pub and drink a warm Guinness?
No thanks, man. Not my style. I was gonna go out tonight, but then plans cancelled. So, hey,
well,
I guess I'm just gonna go cycling.
You should do that too.
How's that bike?
A little damaged, but my I think my ego is more damaged than the bike.
Yeah, it always breaks your heart to get that first scratch, but then once you get that first scratch on it, then you can just like let it go. You're good to go now.
Yeah. Do you still? Oh, never mind. I'll just go there. Do you ever have the flashback of like doing the thing? Oh man.
Not yet.
Lucky you. No, that's good. Oh, you see, you've got that's good. A hardened mindset just blaze through. Yeah, I still have a couple falls that haunt me. So, you know what? It's good to be reminded that you're not supposed to crash, right? Like that's my body telling me like, don't ever do that again. Like, let me just remind you, don't ever do that again. So it's all right, survival. Anything else? This is a big one, y'all. Well done. Well done. That and the 24 other contributors and other members of the core team maintainers. This was a really hefty release. So Redwood is feeling pretty good right now. We got some good, man. It's come a long way. It's a lot of code. All right. Any more questions from the chat? I want to say something. I want to emoji something.
Do you have any thoughts, David, on a 1.0? I saw something that 38 might be a 1.0 candidate.
Yeah, well, I do. I always have thoughts. So for 6 months now, I've said we're 2 releases away from like a version 1 release candidate, and that theme hasn't changed. But okay, let's talk through what's upcoming. In version 37, we will make the switch over to Envelop+Helix, and the hamburger didn't work. I wanted it to. That would have been great. 37, the major breaking change that will come is Envelop+Helix. That is, again, going to be pretty seamless for most people. And if anything, just add a lot more defaults to the your GraphQL endpoints, security, etc. That's just going to happen behind the scenes. There are some changes upcoming, Rob, for secure services and the before resolver we talked about. That's in progress, and I'm not sure if that'll be 37 or 38, but there will be more ways and an improved way. Not more. There's a next step for being able to authenticate your GraphQL endpoints, and specifically your queries and mutations. And we're kind of resolving as a team what that means for this new implementation with SDLs and using secure services, how those all play together if we need to remove something. So that's coming. I don't know if that's going to be 37. I don't think any of us have some clarity on that yet. We have a few other things that would be breaking changes. We don't really have any other major new features planned. So technically, we're really set up well for 38 to be version 1 release candidate. But that could change. I think there's some other tool chain changes, like we talked about the changes that Peter made to the 2-step build process on the API side. We'd like to get the same thing done on the web side, because that opens up, one, adds more stability, but also opens up some really nice things that I know Danny's excited about with pre-render that could be coming. And I think like the list of breaking and or new features is really, really short right now, which means version 1 RC is close. So if it was 2 release cycles, that puts us about 4 to 6 weeks out. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 3 release cycles, so 39 was version 1 RC, but man, we are really, really close. And as you can tell by this release, there was some new stuff in there, but a lot of it was stability, improvements under the hood, testing, security. So we're a bit in the hardening phase of this cycle, which is a good sign, really good sign. What do you all think?
March of next year would be the 3-year anniversary, bro. That would be nice.
Is it? Would it be 3? Is that crazy?
Right, because wasn't it 2019? Wasn't that our first? Right?
Well, okay, so
or was it 2020?
Actually, it was. I would say halfway through 2019 is when Peter really started cranking. Do you think? Because you started working on it into 2019. I was at the beginning of 2020.
Okay, so 2020. It was March 2020. It came out, right? So
that's when we did the .1 release. Was in March of 2020.
Okay.
So.
So the 2-year anniversary could be a nice 1.0.
It might be at the rate we're going. We'll see. I think for those still listening in, there's a lot of startups on Redwood now, and a lot of people are building. They haven't been waiting. We do a really good job. I mean, here's what's crazy. Look at all the things we changed inside this minor release cycle, and look at how few breaking changes really happened. Now, granted, some people are going to be frustrated with Webpack v5, but I made like 4 code mods in that app that we upgraded. Like that's crazy sauce just as a team and a community approach, we're doing a phenomenal job of really minimizing breaking change impact, and then also documenting really well. Like we're identifying that really well, documenting it really well. And so I think when we get to V1 RC, that's going to be a great time for people to jump on and start building their apps in Redwood. We'll be doing debugging. And so we could be in a release candidate process for a while, but V1 will be huge. I just think we're really close to people being able to say, I'm ready to get my project started in Redwood, even when it's a release candidate. So we've done a really good job on that stuff. But yeah, so maybe it will be March of 2022. But it's at a really good place right now. So you're building an app on Redwood, Rob. It's a good time, right?
Yeah, feels good.
Yeah. So we went out and built dbAuth. So I guess that's the thing we can't predict is between now and a release candidate, there might be another major feature that we're like, it does need to come in now. But we'll be releasing a ton of features on the other side of V1. So we're not holding up. We're just trying not to really break things for people during the release candidate cycle. And it's in a really good place. Well done, all. Well done. All right, shall we call it?
I think so.
Shall we call it, chat? Is chat still there? Who is around?
There's only 2 people besides us.
Oh, well, thank you for sticking around.
Rob, you're going to have to edit this video because Mr. Price messed up the order of the upgrades. So you're going to have to, yeah.
Oh, which ones?
You forgot to do the upgrade command, which is the first thing you should do. It's fine not to. Oh,
yeah, got it. Wait, no, I did it in there. It was somewhere. I was going to do it at the end. That was going to be the big reveal, and then you guys were like, "Oh, there was one thing I was going to." We'll skip all that now. But if someone were to run the new page generator, they could see the new defaults for the head information and page. But anyway, just go run it yourself. Yarn Redwood generate foo, and you'll see how that page title, and you can throw a description in there. That's all defaults in the page template now. All right. Well, I will. So next steps, I will download this video when it's processed. We'll throw it up on YouTube and timestamp it so people could come through and skip ahead to the parts they want. But anyway, good work, y'all. Good upgrading. So is tape officially on? Oh, look at that. That's good, Tom. Is tape officially on 36 now?
36, not in production, but in staging. It's in 36. But I've been upgrading it as I go along anyway. That's why I didn't want to do my project, because I had half the changes done.
Got it. Okay. So that was easy. Another thing people could do is they could run Envelop+Helix on their projects now. We showed that at the very beginning, but not enough time now. David Tierson's been working on that, but give that a shot because you can expect that in 37. But you can run your app now using the experimental flag and a few other updates. You use the GraphQL package, GraphQL Server package, but that's all clearly spelled out in that blog post that or the forum post that I linked to at the beginning in the release notes. So that'd be another thing people could do. Are you running, I know you've tested Envelop+Helix, Danny. You have not run that in production, correct?
Not yet, but not because of, it's just it hasn't aligned with the release. Yeah,
Understood.
as soon as a few weeks maybe, and I'll go in production.
Okay, got it. All right, good times. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for
Take care.
All right, and I'll post the video when it's up. I'll get that up on the Twitters. Thanks for joining. Thanks for doing this. Good work, all. It's a great release.
Cheers. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.